At first glance, this might look like a green Play It Loud Edition Game Boy, but if you flip it over, it actually reveals itself to be more of a blue shade. In good condition, one of these blue Game Boys will go on eBay for around $300 US. We purchased this one for about $65. I'm thinking the reason it looks green instead of blue on the front is because the plastic has yellowed. Blue plus yellow makes green. So I'm gonna open this up, give it a good clean, see if there's anything that I can fix on the inside if it's not working, and then we might give this a retro bright treatment just to see what happens and if we can get that nice blue back. Let's take a closer look at this here. It's a little bit dirty, mostly on the back. You can see where it's gathered some of that dirt. But we do have that color grade that's changing. I haven't tested this at all yet, so let's throw some batteries and a game in here and see if it powers on. And it doesn't look like it is. So let's go ahead and take it apart. I want to be careful when separating these two halves because there is a ribbon cable attached that we can wiggle back and forth and remove from here. There we go. Just getting a quick look here at the inside. We can switch our bits now and start taking both of these boards out of here. We'll take a closer look at this later, but on initial glance, there are a few spots that I think definitely need cleaning. There's a little clip that we need to depress here in order to release these battery contacts so they'll come out of here. This last one was being stubborn, so I moved to my tweezers for that little bit of extra strength. And we get a good look here now at the back half of our shell. We'll set that aside for cleaning and get this screen board taken out. Usually these boards release a little bit easier than this one is. It's really stuck on there somewhere. But I'm just kind of going around the edges from all sides with this pry tool and carefully, slowly working it loose. Eventually we should just be able to pull this right off of these posts here that it's stuck on. There we go. Looking at the screen here at the bottom, we can see it's shot, and I could desolder it and replace it, but like a lot of projects right now with my current soldering skill level, it's just a little bit beyond me. So I'm going to set that aside, and I do have a few broken Game Boys around my shop here, and I'm thinking I'll probably be able to find a donor screen inside one of those. There's a double-sided adhesive sticky ring that goes on the inside of these where the screen on the inside actually attaches to the back side of this housing. I want to try to save that, so I'm using my hairdryer to put a little heat on here just to warm it up and loosen the adhesive, and then I'm going to remove this. Even though this is pretty gross and needs cleaned, with a little bit of IPA, I should be able to use it again. Once again with my hairdryer, I'm just warming this up in order to be able to loosen up the adhesive, and going to slide my guitar pick tool underneath here and work it around, and we should be able to press this screen up from the back side. And release it. If we had any doubts as to what the original color of this show was supposed to be, this should put those doubts to rest. There is the blue that we originally had, which we can see on the inside. Let's get these plastic pieces as clean as we can on the surface, at least. Depending on the level of grime or how stiff of a bristle I want or how much surface area I need to cover, I like to go back and forth between a paintbrush, a makeup brush, and a toothbrush. This lettering almost always tends to grab a bunch of finger cheese. One thing I enjoy about working on a system like these original Game Boys is how few parts there are. My hands tend to get very cramped when I'm brushing so many of these parts off in a row. So these smaller projects are pretty nice. After an unfortunate incident with a tiny little silicone pad out of a Nintendo Switch Joy-Con, I always like to check my water before I dump it out and rinse these parts. For this minor amount of rust on the edge of this plate, I'm going to just use a sandpaper pad here and kind of sand it off. This wouldn't be a good working solution if I were working on a part that was going to be on the outside of the machine, where it would be visible and seen, or any place where it could be exposed to water, because it would rust that much more easily, again, a second time. But on the case of something like this where I'm going to put it back inside, I don't mind using the sandpaper to remove the rust and then trust that I will not get it wet on the inside again. So when I took a closer look at both of these boards, I noticed that there are a lot of spots that show very small amounts of corrosion that could be connecting two places together, forming a contact that isn't meant to be there. This might not be the cause of why this Game Boy isn't powering on, but it's a good place to start. I like to use this Safe Contact Cleaner BW100 to spray inside of here and loosen up any dirt or debris that has gotten stuck in some of these harder to reach places, as well as using this tool that came with my iFixit cleaning kit. Any switch like this, I also like to put BW100 in and then work it back and forth a few times to just get any corrosion that could have built up in there loosened up. I don't know if this is a problem or not, but I am just separating these bits of wire from the backside of this soldering job to make sure that they're not touching each other. We do have a little sticky bit of corrosion built up on the bottom side of this D-pad, which probably isn't hurting anything, but it's gross and I'm going to remove it very carefully with my dental pick. That looks better. I'm using IPA on my makeup brush to help remove this junk from this tape, as well as a cotton swab here. Using the IPA, we should be able to retain our stickiness once this dries back out. Now that we have our parts clean, I'm going to grab this Game Boy from a previous project. Let's just make sure it's still working. And then I want to use this Game Boy to test the battery board to see if it works with a known good screen board. I kind of want to make some comments on the line that was on the screen there, which I believe was part of the fix that we did on a previous project. And it seems that at least that part of the line has come back, and we might need to use our soldering gun to fix that again sometime here in the future. So here on the left we have the board that we just pulled out of this working system, and on the right we have the board in the current blue Game Boy that we are cleaning. So let's put that blue board inside of this one, and we don't need to secure everything down, but I am going to throw these screws on here. We'll plug it back in, give us a couple of screws on the shell, and then we can test it out. Yay, it works. So that is one half of the inside of this project that is done. All right, let's move on to the next part. Shifting gears outdoors here for the Retrobyte part of the program, I'm going to use this very high concentration solution of hydrogen peroxide and pour it on the inside of this lid. I'm not worried about the evaporation getting trapped underneath this other container that I'm going to use here, because the lid actually has ribs in it that's going to allow the gas to flow throughout the entire chamber that I'm creating. Let's put these pieces in here face up, and then I'm going to seal this because this is a container that has a sealable lid very carefully down here. I do want to note that I'm using good protective gloves and eyewear and recommend that you do the same. Safety first. We have done this now for 2 days out in the heat and sun, and here is what we are looking at. Just the vapor that was created inside of there with the hydrogen peroxide and UV light, and it's not perfect, but we restored a lot of that blue color on this shell. I found these 6 broken Game Boys on Steve's desk, and lucky me, I only had to break into 2 of them before I found a screen that worked when I put it together with my tester unit. So we have just about everything we need now. Let's get it all put back together. As partial as I was to the other one with Ivan's name scratched on the side, I am going to replace this screen cover. It just feels like since we're making this look so good, we should have a nice, clean, unscratched screen on the surface. The last part that I ordered for this is a replacement cover for the batteries in this nice blue shade. So let's take a quick look at where we came from. That's the yellow to green, and this is what our RetroBrite treatment was able to do to it. Again, it's not perfect, but man, that looks so much better. And it definitely is blue now. One thing that I will give as just a warning to anybody who is interested in experimenting with either this or any other form of RetroBrite is that this is not a permanent solution. For now, with this project, I'm super happy with how it turned out because I get to see what this Play It Loud blue European Game Boy originally looked like. And I also got to test my theory that the greening was a result of yellowing in this case. Now, we may decide to sell this at some point. If we do, I can promise you that I will list in the description everything that we did to make sure that somebody knows what we've done to it. I want to give you a big thanks for hanging out with me and watching this entire video. If you want to keep hanging out with me and see the first time I tried this Vapor RetroBrite method on this Nintendo right here behind me, click on the link down here in the corner and YouTube will send you directly to that video. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.